Hello and welcome to this week's video about the transits coming up this week. We are going over Monday today, February 26th through Sunday, March 3rd. And if you are new here, hello, hi, my name is Erika Layne and I am an astrologer. I read human design charts. I'm also a psychic medium and a Reiki master. And I am super passionate about helping people evolve and find their most highest authentic selves. And I am also very passionate about helping people tap into their own gifts and their own spiritual connection in a very unique to you type of way and approach. So if you are interested in my services, you can find all of the information links that you need to get connected with me, send me a message, or book a session with me down below in the descriptions box. And if you are not new here and you have been following along, welcome back. I seriously appreciate everyone who follows me along this journey, anyone who helps me grow by sharing my videos and liking and subscribing and telling other people about me and inviting people to like my page and all the things. I seriously appreciate it. So thank you so much. And if you have been watching and you have any critiques or advice or constructive criticism for me to help me get better at this, or if there's any feedback you have on how this has helped you, that would be highly also valuable to me. It really keeps me motivated to continue doing this. And you know how it is, if I feel like I'm kind of doing this for no reason, it's hard to stick with it and keep doing it. But if I kind of know that there is value here and that there are people that truly appreciate this, then it really keeps me motivated to stay consistent and continue to record these. So yeah, that's all I got for a little rundown. So let's just go ahead and get into it. I feel like this week is going to be, hopefully I can get through it in a short amount of time and get this out there to you guys. And I mean, we don't have a new moon or a full moon going on this week, but we do still have some kind of big transits. But I do feel like it's mostly in the middle of the week, and then the rest of it is kind of more lighthearted. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So we're starting off today, Monday. The moon is in the quarter of duality, which is purpose fulfilled through relationships, and it is also in the sign of Libra. So right now we are really focused on our emotional attachments and relationships, and we are also focused on how we can kind of balance that inner harmony and outer harmony, right? So I want to make sure that I am taken care of first, and then I take care of others. And so we are feeling that way, right? So if you have been overextended in this area and you've been taking care of other people more so than yourself, you might feel that imbalance. Or you could just really be feeling into imbalances in general and working on bringing those into more harmony. Mars and Venus are still close together and still making a square aspect to Jupiter. We talked about that a lot last week, so you should go check that out. But just in a nutshell, I feel like this is just a challenge for change, a challenge to change your perspective on the things that motivate you, the actions that you're taking, the things that you value, the things that are important to you. What kind of different perspective is needed right now in order to really ground this into reality and manifest these things on a material plane, and not just be in the headspace and the fantasy of it all, or also where you could be deluding yourself when it comes to I guess not conserving your energy for the things you truly want to manifest, and instead you're kind of just sensitive to what everyone else around you needs, and so therefore you are kind of sacrificing your own energy. There you go, the energy that you have towards what you truly want individually, what you truly value individually, because you can sense what everyone else values, sense what everyone else is feeling motivated by. You can also pick up on other people's fears, and then that can in turn make you feel fearful, right? So it is just a lot of distinguishing between self and other right now with this type of energy. Also, Chiron is still on top of the North Node, but they are not as intensely conjunct as the last couple of weeks, so that's good news. And remember, Chiron is the wounded healer, and Aries is all about assertiveness, boldness, action, pioneering spirit, going where no one else will go. So we are still working on healing identity wounds in this area and being a bit more bold and assertive. That's all I got for Monday. Tuesday, the moon is still in Libra and it's going to conjunct the South Node and make a trine to Venus. And so as we could kind of be noticing like feelings about the past coming back up, could be noticing patterns, like past patterns coming back around again. We could be kind of foreshadowing eclipse season with this transit. So just, you know, be aware of that. But with this trine to Venus, I feel like we are really kind of able to break out of old patterns, right? So yes, old patterns might be coming back around again, but remember, you have a different perspective. You value different things at this point. You see the things you value in a different way. So therefore, there's a better chance that you're not going to repeat the same mistake again, and that you are going to set yourself up on a new karmic path. Wednesday is the biggest day of this entire week. Wednesday is we still have Venus moving a bit off of that square to Jupiter, but then Mars comes in and squares Jupiter. And then we have Mercury and the Sun and Saturn all at the same degree for most of the day. And I actually did write down like the exact times of these transits passing, like these planets passing other planets. So when we wake up Wednesday morning at about, not when we wake up, because I'm not going to be awake at this time. And this is Central Time Zone for me, by the way, guys. So Mercury is going to pass the Sun at 2:41 a.m. Now, remember, when Mercury is within radius of the Sun kind of outshines Mercury. And we have been in Pisces season, right? And Pisces can kind of deal with our delusions, our tendency to escape reality, our spiritual connection, our intuition, our dreams, our addictions, our fears, our subconscious, right? And so the Sun has kind of been lighting that area up for all of us. But as Mercury was nearing the Sun, the Sun outshines Mercury, right? So Sun is also kind of like our expression and our ego and like our sense of like identity as well. And so that is outshining how well we are thinking and communicating until Wednesday, right? Wednesday comes along, and then as Mercury passes the Sun, as Mercury is on top of the Sun actually amplifies Mercury. So we could have a sudden flash of insight, a download, a spiritual epiphany. Even as you could see a lot of spiritual awakening also happening around this time, and also clear and concise communication, maybe channeling as well could be a big thing about this. Or also we could just be made aware of some delusion that we have, especially with Saturn coming into play here, because then that conjunction is going to happen. The Sun is going to be at 9 degrees. Saturn is going to be at 9 degrees. Mercury is going to be at 9 degrees. And all of this is going on the human design side in gate 37, or the gate of friendship. And in Gene Keys, I feel like this is the shadow of weakness and the gift of equality. I'm actually going to pull this up really quickly. Gene Key 37. Yeah. So the shadow of weakness, the gift of equality, and the city of tenderness. On Richard Rudd's website for the Gene Keys, by the way, I highly suggest you check out Gene Keys and everything about it, and read the book and get a reading and all the things. That is going to be genekeys.com. And there's a little quote here from Richard Rudd that says, when we look at the world, it doesn't seem that fair. It doesn't seem as though we're all equal. Yet the Gene Keys are all about genius. This is where we're equal. We're equal to the task we're given, but only if we don't cave in. Oh, I love that. And then with the shadow of weakness, there's a lot to do here too about like, it's in the emotional center, in the emotional like solar plexus area of our charts, of our bodies. And it connects to the ego identity, which I think is kind of actually cool and significant when it comes to this transit, when it involves the Sun and Saturn here. because Saturn can have us being like really hard on ourselves, really hard on others, and the sun can, I guess, like when the sun and Saturn come together in that way, it can have us being really hard on ourselves, on our expression, on the way that we just exist and how we identify as ourselves here in this world. Uh, but so like I guess what I'm saying is I feel like that is something that we could all strongly be feeling at this time, is that kind of just like not feeling good enough. And it's interesting, especially with Chiron and the North Node, right? Being like this identity wounding that's healing and taking place, right? Uh, but what I was gonna say about that is that I was gonna say something. I'm like losing my train of thought here. Oh yeah, the equality thing. So we could be hard on ourselves, right? And it's funny because it's like we're hard on ourselves because we don't fit up to a certain expectation of groupthink of society, right? But when you take all of that away, we are all like super important, super valuable, super special in our own unique individual way. And we never really find out that importance of uniqueness as long as we're always like following the crowd, following the herd, right? And so this is kind of like a shakeup of that. I don't know what that's going to mean for world events, but I do feel like it's a continuing of this like pulling away the veil of delusion, the delusion around groupthink, especially with these Aquarius placements and Pluto in Aquarius, that we're all the same, you know? Because we're not, we're different. And also I remember when I was studying this particular gene key, there was also a lot to be said in this chapter about gender equality, right? And with that shadow of weakness, right, of like seeing feminine as weak, and how that has kept even women, right, even women. And again, this is not, I'm not trying to say this is like a generalization, because just to preface before I say this part, we're all very unique combinations of feminine and masculine energy, right? Because that's how we all are beautiful and unique and fresh, because we're all our own special little combination of the yin, the yang, right? But a lot of women suppress our feminine aspects, and a lot of men suppress their feminine aspects, right? Because there is feminine energy in all of us, and so then it's suppressed on a collective level, on a groupthink level, right? And it is seen as weakness, and we're not ever going to reach the gift or the true expression of equality until we stop seeing it as weakness. And I remember it said something too about how like the feminine, when the feminine serves the masculine, it continues this cycle, right? And that's what keeps it in this weakened state. And this would be like, because this can happen individually as well, right? You can see your own feminine as serving your own masculine. Like that would also look at like giving from a place of what you're going to get in return. There's a lot of like exchange energy going on with this as well, like only giving if you're going to get something, giving from the head, from the mind place, because it's like, it's something you should do, or it's like something strategic that you could do, rather than giving from the heart space, because you just truly want to give with no conditions. Like I think they even brought up like Jesus in this chapter a lot with that, because Jesus, did give truly from the heart, and he was also kind of a masculine idol of like divine masculine, right? And so it is interesting as like we continue to move and we kind of flip this from like, no, maybe the masculine needs to serve the feminine. We might need a new what is the word of, like, a new example, right? Like a new example going forward into the shift of equality. And I do feel like that's where the delusion is going to be pulled back, is like the delusion of weakness. That speaking in a feminine way is weak. Yeah. Or just being feminine, expressing feminine. Okay, so then as we continue, so Mercury is going to pass Saturn at 9:07 a.m. and then the sun is going to pass Saturn at 3:25 p.m. So it's going to be an all-day thing on Wednesday. And then right after all of these conjunctions, Mercury and the sun are going to make sextiles to Jupiter as Mars still squares Jupiter, right? So like, I want to say it could be from that mental versus heart space thing again too, right? Like Aquarius zoomed out perspective of like, well, this is what I think I want to manifest. This is what I think I want my reality to look like. This is what I think I want to see, taste, smell, touch, experience, right? But there's been this squaring energy going on here of like, you need to change, right? You need to change your way of thinking about this. And then when these conjunctions are over and those planets make a sextile to Jupiter, it's like, do you feel that in your heart, that difference between the delusion and the reality? And what do you like really want from a heart space? How trusting are you in your spiritual connection from a heart space, right? Because if you think you know what to do, you're taking out that trust factor, right? Then you end up in your head trying to strategize. And I love that too, because the gate that this forms 37 to 40 is the shadow of exhaustion. And so, and this has been a big lesson for me. I have that gate 40, that shadow of exhaustion. And this is in my culture sphere, right? So like, I tend to get exhausted by the people around me. And I've noticed in the last several months that it comes from those people around me trying to pull on my mental body, right? Trying to kind of like, it's like it takes me into this masculine place and it exhausts me and my brain hurts and I can't think anymore, you know? But that's feminine serving masculine again. Because the truth is, a lot of the times when we give to other people, right? Like if we give advice to other people, like let's say that somebody asks you for advice and it's pulling on that think space of yours and you can feel that exhaustion setting in, but you do it anyway because of fear of abandonment, because that person provides something for you that you feel like you need, you know? So like, you're doing it out of like strategy for survival instead of truly from a place of your heart, from trusting in spirit. And that's going to be the duality that we face this week. Okay, so then that evening, the moon is going to move into Scorpio. As soon as it does, it's going to square Pluto. So we're going to have that fixed energy square again, right? Of like, where are you being too stubborn? What kind of like psychological trap is getting in the way here of you truly changing and transforming your reality? And then Thursday, the moon is still in Scorpio. The sun and Mercury is still sextiling Jupiter. And Venus also moves further into this place now where it's making a trine and sextile aspect to the nodes. So what we value, the value of change, honestly, is going to be helping to assist in this going towards a new bold area of life, being more assertive, healing these identity wounds. And it's also going to be helping us let go of times where we don't follow our intuition. And again, this is where the mind is a trap here, right? We don't follow our intuition because the mind starts to get in the way and goes, you know, well, what would this person think, and what would that person think, and what if this happened to me, and what if that happened to me, right? Like, so it's like, but you feel in your intuition like, no, I shouldn't do this, right? So don't let your mind talk you out of things. I think you're seeing a different perspective on that as well, of like following your intuition into places where you probably need to be brave. And I think it's being brave about your needs, the needs of the community, where our mindsets need to change, where the revolution of our lives is taking place. And then Friday, the moon is still in Scorpio. It's going to move further and oppose Jupiter and then Uranus. So we're really going to be feeling that Taurus energy, more fixed energy stuff. Moon in Scorpio is really helping us do this is a good time for like shadow work is what I'm trying to say. It really helps us to like dig deep into psychological traps, dig deep into shadow patterns. It helps us face our fears, right? And so when it comes to this other side of Taurus, which is like helping us manifest, helping us be innovative, helping us put together the pieces, helping us manifest things into physical material reality, taking things from our mind space and making them real, we can see the traps, right? We can see the traps that are getting in the way of that, getting in the way of this manifesting. Saturday, the moon is going to move into Sagittarius. Venus is going to start making its square to Uranus. Which I also think is interesting in the sense that it's like, you're going to feel where maybe you have been allowing yourself to use the external as an excuse, is what I want to say. Like, I can't do A, B, and C because look outside of myself here. Venus is like, you really value this, you can get innovative. And we talked a lot about this in the last couple of weeks too. Like, you can get around things, you can get creative, you can even just changing internally is enough. You will eventually see the changes externally, but it takes a while. Like I started going to the gym and eating healthier like a couple of months ago, and I still have hardly lost any weight. I mean, like the results are very minimal, right? But eventually I'll see the results. And like continuing to go anyway is not bad for me. Like, it could never be bad for me to go to the gym. It could never be bad for me to eat better, to be more conscientious about what I'm eating and about how I'm treating my body and how I'm moving my body. That can never be harmful to me, unless it's like an imbalance and I'm going into extremes and like being a psycho calorie counter or something. Like, but just going to the gym every day and moving my body is never going to be bad for me. And maybe I'm not seeing the results as quickly as I would like, but I will eventually. And it's an internal shift. It's an internal shift. Like, the whole reason why this journey started for me was like, oh shit, I need to take better care of myself. I need to love my body more. Even if everything around me is exactly the same, And Sagittarius energy, where the moon is moving, where we're feeling these emotions, is like our belief systems and our philosophy on life, So there could be like a shift or a change happening in that area of your life as well. Maybe read a philosophy book, right? Look at other ways of living. Look at other people's philosophy on life. Like, how do they believe? How do they see things? That could help you get innovative, that could help you change. Okay, Sunday, the moon is still in Sagittarius, is going to start squaring everything in Pisces, right? So it's going to really bat up against like delusions and escapism. Maybe you're deluded by your own philosophy in life sometimes, Maybe you use this weird philosophy as an excuse. Maybe it's like, I don't know, like, I know everybody has different philosophies that they love or that they trust in, believe in, whatever. I feel like for myself, a long time ago, I kind of like promised myself to not ever have a philosophy or beliefs. And not to say that like I don't, like, I'm not perfect, right? There is sometimes where I like catch myself with this, but like more than anything, I believe in the universe. I believe that I have a self that is higher than the self I am now. Like, those are kind of like the beliefs that I tend to solidify, but everything else I like to keep very fluid and moving. And I like to just kind of play around in it and see it as like weather. You know, it's not something that's here forever. It's a season. It's something that I can play with, that I can experience, that I can be curious about right now. And it might pass, you know, and I'm not holding on to it, hoping that it never does. I'm waiting and just experiencing until it passes without many expectations. And I think that that could be maybe something that we're all moving around with more as well towards the end of this week, of just like, how can I be more fluid with my beliefs? Like you can take an example like Christianity, or like just organized religion in general, as an example for how boxed in beliefs can be, you know, how trapped beliefs can be. And isn't that interesting? Because if there is really like a God, a single unifying energy, it is just bigger and more infinite and more grand in scale than we could ever imagine. So why would we ever think that there was constraints to this? Why would we ever think that there was a box, or that there was a beginning and an ending? And that, when I just said box, reminds me of the cards I pulled. So let's go ahead and get into that. We're moving right along. And it's really cool because I decided to pull all 3 cards from this one book, and the ones that came out at me were the castle, the box, and the empty room. And before I even read the meanings out of this, and maybe I can like kind of just turn this around so you guys can look. Like, I don't know, but I just see this as beautiful, of like how we kind of like follow these desires, these things that we want, these things that we see as valuable, as precious, as like just like worth having, right? And how those things kind of trap us and keep us in this box. And then this empty room is like when we realize like, oh, we're trapped, we're in a box and we need to get out of here, but we're too scared. We're scared of the unknown, of that void, of what is outside of this box. And that causes us to escape our reality, because our reality we know is stagnant, we know needs to change. You know, this is like when you know you fucking hate your job and it's like soul draining and soul sucking, but you just keep showing up and doing it anyway because you don't want to put the effort into applying for other jobs or sharpening your skills in certain areas or whatever it might be that would help you get out of this job. So instead you come home and you just drink yourself into oblivion until you fall asleep, so you can escape the reality that you're not satisfied, that you're not happy with where you are, that your desires that you once had trapped you, that you didn't keep them fluid and movable. You boxed yourself in with them. All right. Okay, so the castle, the palace, the penthouse, the fortress. It's no wonder fairy tales tell of sleeping princesses within castle walls. Like most archetypes, the castle is loaded with duality. It represents abundant riches, seductive fantasy, ornate wonders, and lavish adornments. Yet the walls are thick, cold, and shadowy. This card points to a tendency to hold on to possessions, quite possibly a literal home, or position that project the image of achievement, while the soul longs to run barefoot in the forest, leaving it all behind. At times we must settle down, yet the castle lulls us with its spells of materialism, and we fall asleep to our deepest dreams. The castle can be a motivating force, an enchanting goal to travel toward, but it is best not to linger within its walls of decadent deception for long. Yeah, I mean, I don't need to say anything else about that. The box, the cage, the rules, the norm. We all live to some degree within the confines of the box. This archetype represents everything that is known, anticipated, and expected. It holds us in place while simultaneously holding us back from our greatest visions. The box is sneaky, insidious, and everywhere, limiting us at the most unconscious levels. It is built of layer upon layer of social constructs and pressures. Breaking through its confines requires awareness, continued effort, and bravery. The box may appear as expectations from parents, a well-paying but heartless job, the pressure to look or behave like others, or simply to stay small. There is a box around you now, made of some type of confining thought. What is it? The box shifts and morphs as we grow. This is part of its multi-layered nature. Once you break through one layer, another will present itself to you. Keep going, break through. An exquisite life requires it. I mean, that is exactly how my life has been. Every time like, I'm not kidding. At the beginning of my journey, I was like, oh, I broke through this box and now, and I'm just like, now I'm the best, like now my life is fixed and I know everything and blah, blah, blah. But oh boy, was I wrong, was I so ignorant back then? Because no, it never ends. It's infinite. Just like spirituality, it's infinite. There will always be another, every time you break out of your box, there's another box there to fall into. That's life. The empty room, the vortex, the abyss, the nothing. The empty room haunts us all. It is the universal and all too frequent feeling of lack, of wanting, of the craving to fill ourselves with something, anything. We too often attempt to remedy the discomfort of the empty room by any means necessary, leading us to a culture of more, which is exhausting, right? That's the masculine. Ironically, the empty room is filled to the brim with potential, yet we perceive it as not enough. This card is a cry for patience, for sitting within the barren walls of not knowing, for awaiting true vision and purpose before attaching to what we should do next to save our outward appearance. Be with the nothingness. Be with the impatience. The empty room has immense power. Let others wonder what you are doing. If you can settle into the magic of emptiness, you will soon hear its whispers of wisdom. Boom. That's it from me today, guys. I hope that this was helpful. And perfect timing, right? Thank you, guys. Have a great and wonderful week ahead. I would love to hear your thoughts. And yeah, bye.